All right, we're back again, reading A Course in Miracles. We're on chapter 26. This chapter is called The Transition, and this section that we're going to be reading today is section 2, Many Forms, One Correction. Here we go. It is not difficult to understand the reasons why you do not ask the Holy Spirit to solve all problems for you. He has not greater difficulty in resolving some than others. Every problem is the same to him because each one is solved in just the same respect and through the same approach. The aspects that need solving do not change, whatever form the problem seems to take. A problem can appear in many forms, and it will do so while the problem lasts. It serves no purpose to attempt to solve it in a special form. It will recur and then recur again and yet again until it has been answered for all time and will not rise again in any form. And only then are you released from it. The Holy Spirit offers you release from every problem that you think you have. They are the same to him because each one, regardless of the form it seems to take, is a demand that someone suffer loss and make a sacrifice that you might gain. And when the situation is worked out so no one loses, is the problem gone, because it was an error in perception that now has been corrected. One mistake is not more difficult for him to bring to truth than is another. For there is but one mistake, the whole idea that loss is possible and can result in gain for anyone. If this were true, then God would be unfair, sin would be possible, attack be justified, and vengeance fair. This one mistake, in any form, has one correction. There is no loss. To think there is a mistake. You have no problems, though you think you have. And yet you could not think so if you saw them vanish one by one without regard to size, complexity, or place and time, or any attribute which you perceive that makes each one different from the rest. Think not the limits you impose on what you see can limit God in any way. The miracle of justice can correct all errors. Every problem is an error. It does injustice to the Son of God and therefore is not true. The Holy Spirit does not evaluate injustices as great or small or more or less. They have no properties to him. They are mistakes from which the Son of God is suffering, but needlessly, and so he takes the thorns and nails away. He does not pause to judge whether the hurt be large or little. He makes but one judgment, that to hurt God's Son must be unfair and therefore is not so. You who believe it's safe to give but some mistakes to be corrected while you keep the others to yourself, remember this. Justice is total. There is no such thing as partial justice. If the Son of God is guilty, then he is condemned, and he deserves no mercy from the God of justice. But ask not God to punish him because you find him guilty and would have him die. God offers you the means to see his innocence. Would it be fair to punish him because you will not look at what is there to see? Each time you keep a problem for yourself to solve or judge that it is one that has no resolution, you have made it great and past the hope of healing. You deny the miracle of justice can be fair. You deny the miracle of justice can be fair. If God is just, then can there be no problems that justice cannot solve? But you believe that some injustices are fair and good and necessary to preserve yourself. It is these problems that you think are great and cannot be resolved. For there are those you want to suffer loss, and no one whom you wish to be preserved from sacrifice entirely. Consider once again your special function. One is given you to see in him his perfect sinlessness. And you will ask no sacrifice of him because you could not will he suffer loss. The miracle of justice you call forth will rest on you as surely as on him. Nor will the Holy Spirit be content until it is received by everyone. For what you give to him is everyone's, and by your giving it can he ensure that everyone receives it equally. Think then how great your own release will be when you are willing to receive correction for all your problems. You will not keep one, for pain in any form you will not want. And you will see each little hurt resolved before the Holy Spirit's gentle sight. For all of them are little in his sight, and worth no more then just a tiny sigh before they disappear, to be forever undone and unremembered. What seemed once to be a special problem, a mistake without a remedy, or an affliction without a cure, has been transformed into a universal blessing. Sacrifice is gone, and in its place the love of God can be remembered and will shine away all memory of sacrifice and loss. God cannot be remembered until justice is loved instead of feared. He cannot be unjust to anyone or anything, because he knows that everything that is belongs to him and will forever be as he created it. Nothing he loves but must be sinless and beyond attack. Your special function opens wide the door beyond which is the memory of his love, kept perfectly intact and undefiled. And all you need to do is but to wish that heaven be given you instead of hell, and every bolt and barrier that seems to hold the door securely barred and locked will merely fall away and disappear. For it is not your Father's will that you should offer or receive less than he gave when he created you in perfect love. Okay, he created you in perfect love. Many forms, one correction is the name of this passage, and variations on the theme of the whole course. Once again, the course is a holographic presentation, and it just keeps saying the same thing over and over again in different forms, in different ways. And it's partly to highlight the fact, as this passage tells us, that we keep getting the same lesson again and again in different forms until we learn the lesson. And what is the lesson? The lesson is that God is perfectly just. He created us in perfect love. Whenever we are not in that perfect love, and we know that we're not in the perfect love, if there is disharmony between us and anyone and anything else, when we're not in complete love and gratitude of all that is. And if we're not, we keep getting the lessons, right? Until we learn the lessons. And there's only one lesson, right? It's to accept the atonement. And what is the atonement? The atonement is that God created you in perfect love. We are created in perfect love, and that has never changed, and that could never change, and that is our only reality. That is our one and only true reality. And to the extent that we go into spaces of unlovingness, we keep getting lessons, and they come in many different forms, and we think they're all different lessons. We think, we're getting different lessons, but they're really all the same. They all go back to the same root issue, which is that we are in denial of our true self. We are resisting the simple truth, and we are treating our brother and ourselves in an unloving way. And we keep wanting to project it outward. We keep wanting to project the problem outward and say, no, it's not me, it's them, right? We do that all the time. Like, how many times have you said, or someone else said to you when you're having a disagreement, no, this is you, not me, right? I'm not the one at fault. I had this recently with someone, I'm still dealing with stuff myself, right? But the person said to me, I have done nothing wrong. And I said, to say that you've done nothing wrong, it is wrong, right? Because because no one does nothing wrong. It always takes two to tango in life. And as soon as you stop taking responsibility and as soon as you start trying to push the blame on someone else, sometimes we do that in an outward form, like we say, they're completely wrong, I'm completely right. And sometimes we just do it, we just think that way. In our heart, we think, oh man, they're so messed up and I am so right. And that is hiding the fact that you actually are not completely right. So the way I've come to phrase it is, maybe this is not completely accurate either, but I said to my friend, I may not be completely right in what I'm saying, and I take responsibility that I'm not completely right in this situation, but I don't think I'm totally wrong either in what I'm saying. And I was trying to address the issues that were not being spoken and were not being communicated, and that was not met with. That's the thing about the Course. What is Jesus saying is that some people, you have to know what to say to people, and when what you're going to say to someone is going to make the problem worse and escalate the situation, versus doing what you want to do, which is to say something that they can truly hear and understand and respect, and that will help to resolve the situation. So many times we get into disagreements and we think we're being helpful, but we seem judgmental, and the other person takes it as an attack and they attack back. And then we think that they're attacking us unjustly, but the reality is that we attack them as well, right? It's both. Now, you could also say that in this world, that's the way of the world, and maybe the Course is really getting at the idea that forgiveness really is just stepping back from the whole situation and looking at it with forgiveness. It's not necessarily to say that those situations are not going to arise. It's almost inevitable in this world that there will be some conflict, and there will be and we will make mistakes in those conflicts, right? Let's just bring in something that is kind of a thorn in the ACIM world, which is the fact that Ken Wapnick put a copyright on the Course, and then he lost the case when he tried to the original manuscripts, handwritten notes of Helen, apparently were taken from the Library of Congress, and someone photocopied them. Then they got out on the internet. I don't know the whole story. I'm just telling you the little that I know. And Ken said later, maybe I shouldn't have put a copyright. Maybe that was part of the problem, is that I put a copyright on the Course. And his wife, I think, had said to him, don't do that, right? But he did it anyway. So he made a mistake, maybe. Maybe not. Maybe that was all part of the, I think the way he probably looked at it, which I think is the correct way, is that there really are no mistakes. When you look at everything from the point of view of forgiveness, but we also can correct our own errors when we get into the ego, when we follow the ego and we act, when we think and speak and act from the ego. Those are things that we can correct. So if his action was coming from an egoic place, then he can correct that. But as far as what actually happened, he can also look at it with forgiveness and maybe with an understanding that that was all meant to happen. That was all a drama that was meant to play out. And it somehow is for the greater good of all. Because everyone is going to learn the Course in their own way, right? Some people will learn it from, they will not be into Ken Wapnick, right? And what he had to say. Maybe what he's saying is too much for many people. Maybe he was wrong. Maybe, I don't think so, but personally, but it's a very, all of this is this is why this is all a lifetime journey, because to really integrate it all, and takes a while. Takes a while to really come to your own understanding. That is really an informed understanding versus a uninformed understanding. I hope these videos that we're doing here are helpful in that regard. That we're trying to get to a deeper understanding of the Course. I understand now. Let me just. I started to talk about Ken saying he made a point, at least several times, probably quite a lot, because people would ask him, well, aren't you just giving us your own interpretation of A Course in Miracles? And some people have even said, well, his interpretation changed over time. He didn't have the same interpretation. He didn't have the same understanding of the Course, later in his life than he did when he was younger. And he said, no, I'm just saying what the Course says. Now, I could see his perspective there. Because if he were to say, this is just my interpretation, it would not have the same impact, on the people that really needed to hear what he had to say. Now, you could say that people criticized him and said he was dogmatic, that he was like the Pope. But he was just firm in his knowing. And I do feel that you can't actually get around what he was saying. I think you have to at least listen to what he was saying about A Course in Miracles, because who really understands A Course in Miracles, right? He claimed to understand it fully, and that's something that we must at least, I think, pay attention to. I would hope. I certainly do. I love to read what he wrote, and I love to hear what he says about A Course in Miracles, and it's helped me immensely. I will not be able to do what I'm doing without his guidance. Let's just read a little bit. Let's just read the last paragraph here one more time, and then we'll just sign off. God cannot be remembered until justice is loved instead of fear. Okay, we cannot know God until we love the justice of God. And what is the justice of God? Justice of God is no vengeance, no punishment, no sacrifice. None of that is necessary. God is love, and God does not judge. There is no judgment in God. There is no need even for forgiveness. There is only total love. And if God is total love, then we are as well. So if there's any fear, then we have not arrived yet at that total love, at that perfect love. He cannot be unjust to anyone or anything, because he knows that everything that is belongs to him and will forever be as he created it. Now, this is getting at the non-dual idea that there is only oneness, right? There's only the oneness, the wholeness. If there's only the oneness, the wholeness, there's no separation, there's no division. Thus, there is no need for fear. There's no need for attack. The fear and attack are impossible. They're non-existent. Nothing he loves but must be sinless and beyond attack. Okay? Your special function opens wide the door beyond which is the memory of his love kept perfectly intact and undefiled. That means that as we learn and practice our special function, or put into perform our special function, which is forgiveness, we remember God. We remember our true reality, which is all that we are and all that we want. And all you need to do is but to wish that heaven be given you instead of hell, and every bolt and barrier that seems to hold the door securely barred and locked will merely fall away and disappear. So all you need to do is have the desire for that. All you need to do is have the desire for God. The sincere desire. That's all you need. That's the little willingness. For it is not your Father's will that you should offer or receive less than he gave when he created you in perfect love. So, imitatio Dei, the imitation of God, right? If we are God, we are in the likeness of God. We are the creation of God. We are love. If we are love, then anything that is unloving is not worthy of us, and we can let it go. And, end of story. End of video. See you on the other side. Namaste. Sadnam. Hari Om Tat Sat. And next one is Where Sin Has Left. Thank you for listening.